Welcome to Miraculous Thinking. I am your co-host, Crystal Ann Compton, and I'm here with the beautiful Elenique Marie. Now, we are here. This is our first episode, Elenique, and I am so stoked and excited. And while we're not going to be going through a specific work today or a specific book or doing any sort of teaching, we are going to be discussing what our vision for this podcast actually is and the kind of things we want to be doing with one another and also with all of you, anyone who's going to be picked up on this journey, going to walk this path with us. We want to talk about what you can expect to experience. I know I am excited, and I think you're excited as well, Elenique.
So excited. Can't even contain the excitement.
Well, why don't we start by talking about why we're doing this? Because we've had many conversations leading up to this first episode, kind of dreaming this into existence. And we do have a mission statement. We do have some ideas about it. So why don't you start us off and tell us what you're miraculously thinking?
Well, this is our Miraculous Thinking podcast, and the name came before the podcast, but I think it was coming because it had to be. And all I know is that ever since I met you so many years ago, I said to myself, I just know I'm supposed to create something with Crystal. I just know I am. And I think that it's difficult sometimes to find some people to collaborate with because, everybody has their point of view, their perspective. There's things you overlap on and things you don't. But after so many years, I feel like whatever differences we do have, they actually complement us. And then we have so many other things we're passionate about, like transformation through speech and through thought and through word and the power of speech to manifest. So that's really what this is about. It's about co-creating with our listeners a new way, a better way, a higher way, a actual representation of who we are through exploring who we are.
Yes. It's that curiosity that I think is so fundamental, and also creating a space inside of yourself where you can become aware of what you're curious about. I think we live in such busy lives, and we're in the middle of this matrix, and so many things are being signaled to us. And so we don't really have a lot of space internally to contemplate or to even read a book and then integrate that information. And so I think that it's important that all of us intentionally create a chamber where God can occupy and create a chamber where spirit can move. And I think through what we're going to be doing here, which is reading books, you and I are going to be reading books, and then we're going to be talking about them. And we'll get into what books we're going to be reading and talking about. But through the reading of these books and the taking in of this information and noticing how it's changing us and noticing how it's inspiring us and then coming together week after week to talk about that, I think that's going to be so incredible. I mean, it's exciting for me to even think about, but just because I have my own thoughts about things. And just as you said, maybe not every opinion is going to jive, but at least we can put it in the center of the circle. We can put it into the chamber and we can hash it out, and I can see your perspective and you can see my perspective. And that is what is so intriguing to me.
Absolutely. And one thing I found beautiful in one of the things that I was reading lately was the story, we all think we know the story about the caterpillar and how the caterpillar turns into a butterfly. But what people don't know, or a lot of people, I didn't know up until I read this, was when it goes into that chrysalis, I don't know what it's called, something, it actually begins to die and become a goo, a total goo, primordial goo. But yet the immune system of that old caterpillar is still active, right? Because it's still half alive. Mm-hmm. And what happens is into that goo pops in an imaginal cell. This imaginal cell is the cell that has the instructions for the butterfly. And the immune system of the butterfly, the dying caterpillar, attacks this imaginal cell. And the more it attacks, the more imaginal cells pop up until the DNA of the caterpillar gets rewritten by all these imaginal cells, which begin in the imagination of source, the imagination of the divine that is carried within the caterpillar. And then it becomes the caterpillar. So that it becomes the butterfly. So that caterpillar went through a very uncomfortable phase, very painful, being broken down into nothing. And how many of us can't relate to being broken down by the things that we've experienced in life, our pain, our suffering, and our experiences. But the question is, what story are you going to tell about those things that happened? What is the story that you're going to tell about it? Because the point of view that you take, if you see yourself as a butterfly in the making, and all this is just breaking down all that you are not so that you can be that butterfly, by changing your story, by pushing your thinking, you can step into that power. If not, you just stay a caterpillar and you don't evolve. So evolution sometimes can be painful.
Wow, I had
but
no
it's worth
idea.
it.
I had no idea that that's what the process of the caterpillar to butterfly actually was. I had no idea that it was reduced to a goo.
It's a goo.
That
it's
is
not
so
that
interesting.
It just grows. I thought it was like, oh, it's in there, and then little things grow, little antennas grow, and butterfly wings come out. No, it's a deconstruction.
It's just it's like a receiver substance.
Absolutely.
Receiver substance with all of the potential of the butterfly. But as the immune system attacks, it develops. That's
Exactly.
incredible. And isn't that
beautiful?
that's such a metaphor for life, because as we go through struggles and trials and tribulations, and of course joys and happiness, is like all of that informs who we are becoming, and we are becoming something new every single day. And it's really based on how we want to develop and where our intention is. That depends where we go and what we become. But that's amazing.
It is. And I feel like that's what we're doing is, you and I love to expand and evolve. And I think that's something that ties us together with everyone here that's listening to this podcast. You don't listen to these types of things if you're not ready for that evolution and that step up. Something in your soul woke you up and said, this is the time. And this is the time not only for us, this is the time for the earth. This is the time for our children. This is the time for everyone. This is something we're doing. Seems like an individual journey, but it's a collective journey. We're doing this for the greater good. And so I am so happy to be sharing this with you and just learning and not being afraid. Not being afraid to push the ideas that I had. So many things that I thought were solid in my life, belief systems, have melted away, especially over the last couple of years after COVID. You outgrow these ideas and you're ready to step into something new. And it's scary, but it's exciting. So I'm excited to do that with you and everybody else listening.
I love the idea of laying down the fear. The Bible says that perfect love casts out all fear. And I think that we are truly living in such a profound era of fear, where people are afraid to say what they believe is true, or even what they know to be true. People are afraid to say it, much less occupy and live according to that. So I think that it's such a cool concept to have conscious conversations that can go anywhere at any time, but in a fearless way, with the cornerstone always being love. Like the cornerstone always being like, how do we return to that which we are? And how do we amplify that which created us? Like wherever the journey takes us is good, but it's the fact that we're willing to go. And I think more of us are awakening to this concept. Like now is the time. Now's the time to wake up. Not necessarily get woke. I'm talking about actually wake up. Wake up to your divine self. Wake up to your higher potential. Wake up to the reason you're here on this planet. And so through the course of this little podcast that we're doing, it's me continuing to allow myself to wake up, because there's a lot of stuff I need to slough off too. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that I need to shift and change in my life. And I'm coming into this experiment willing to change and willing to read books that I've never read before and take on new ideas and allow them to kind of sit inside of the chamber of me, the chalice of me. Yes. Okay, we're going to let it sit. I'm going to sip on this for a while and then see what's eternal and see what resonates. And there are so many books in the world. There's so many cool things that we can get into. And if you could see this wall of my room, it's just all books. And I've got some really kooky, crazy books. I've got some absolute masterful classics, but there's value in each and every one of them. So the idea that you and I can just hang out and talk about books.
It's awesome.
Yes, please.
Tell my 13-year-old self who was lonely reading books and hoping one day, like I can find my tribe and I can explore these crazy ideas that, now we have this luxury to explore these things at the tip of our fingertips. Audible, Kindle. Like, I remember having to go to these weird esoteric bookstores in search of between, shelves, and you didn't even know what it was, which is part of the magic.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, I miss it.
Right.
But yet it's so beautiful that's why I know this is the time for this, because the universe has made it so easy to access all this information purposefully. So yeah, and I think that we're being called, and I know that God, source, whatever you want to talk about it, I think we are that. I don't think we're separate from God. I don't think we have to go somewhere to go to God. God is here, and it's a matter of being. I feel it's like a faucet. We're this faucet, and sometimes the faucet's full of gunk, and so the water comes out brown, and maybe you think you are that brown water, but if you can just clean out that faucet, it's actually just this beautiful, what do you call it? Like waterfall of light that we are. And so it's just about what you are not, dropping what you're not, stepping into what you are. And that's it. There's nowhere to go. You were always here. You were always here. It's the best
Exactly.
part.
And I can see how that can thrust somebody into a state of fear, because that faucet, it's not the faucets, it's the water. The water is refining the faucet.
Exactly.
And the faucet becomes the instrument for that water. But it can be terrifying to realize that I'm not the faucet. It can be terrifying to realize I'm not the structure. Like, I am not all of these things that I thought I was. And if you're a spiritual person who's interested, or a student of spirituality and metaphysics, like, you find the more you do this, the farther you go, the farther there is to go, and the more you have to relinquish. Like, I thought I relinquished it all. Yes. I thought I figured all of that out, but no, there's always another layer. And that's the beautiful part of the work, is just the self-discovery. And that self is connected to the God of all things. There's you cannot sever the connection or the tether between you and the all that is. And this whole dimension, this third dimension, is an illusion we signed up for, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I knew I was going to incarnate into this dimension, and it was going to be crazy. And there's going to be a lot of illusion, and there's some weird stuff programmed into the matrix of this place. I'm going to fall into the delusion that I'm separate from that which created me. And the whole purpose of the incarnation is to actualize and come back to who I truly am as a soul, and still navigate the human experience. So this is part of all of it, but that makes the journey fun.
That is what makes it fun. And I think that's why it's there. And I think I mentioned to you this gentleman I follow, Rupert Spira. He mentioned the other day, he said, the body and the personality that we are is a co-conspirator with Source on the journey of expansion. It's only when that source, that body and that personality thinks that it is its own entity, that it stops truly creating. Because there's a difference. What is to create? And I think that's a word we throw around, create. But create in the real sense, in the unlimited sense, with Source, not with the limited, ideas of self. And so I think that to me was like, wow, yeah. It's only when I forget that I'm connected that I lose the joy in my creation. That's when we think that we have problems, and that we're limited, and that we have to struggle, and that everything is, a push rather than an allowing. And I think, manifestation is that. It's remembering, wait a minute. It's like I'm connected to the ultimate, the ultimate source of all. So let me just connect and allow, and things just flow.
Not just connected, you are that.
Exactly.
Created in the image of that.
Yep.
And that exists inside of you. The kingdom of heaven exists inside of you. And that's the doorway. That's the portal to it all. But if you disconnect from that, and if you detach from the reality of that, then you enter into the world of suffering. And I think it's such an interesting take that you've just offered, which is that the body is the co-conspirator. The body is the sacred temple. And we are living in a time right now where there are so many people trying to detach from their body. Like, you go up on Instagram and there's filter upon filter upon filter, and that's just my page.
I thought you were talking about me, Crystal. I was like, don't throw me out like that, Crystal.
But there's like, or there's people who don't really want to be in the body that they have, and they're moving into a different expression of that body. And there's a spectrum of that. But I think fundamentally underpinning it, there is this misunderstanding of what the body truly is and what it is doing for us in every single moment. I've got a program coming up in a couple of months, and one aspect of the program is to open up a conversation directly with your body, because your body is always talking to you. Your body knows the mission of the spirit and the soul. The body is equipped with all of that intelligence and energy, but we just don't listen to it, much less ask it any questions. And so I'm just intrigued to see what kind of answers we receive if we actually take the time to ask. And furthermore, what happens when you start asking the mind? Oh, the things your mind will tell you about what it believes is true or who it feels you to be. Yeah. And then, of course, getting into the domain of spirit and asking those questions so that you can come into an understanding of your own potential. Well, why don't we kind of go over, we're already going crazy.
Yeah, shocker. I knew it was going to go this way. I knew
There's no book in the center of it, but why don't we talk about the books? Because, we have a lot of books selected out, but we have chosen the first 5, and we feel comfortable, don't we, to share those first 5 books.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you want to tell the folks what they are?
Well, the first one is our tried and true diehard, Neville. I have my reader. Do you have your reader?
Yeah, I have my reader over there, but yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Feeling is the secret. And this is so exciting because that book is really a beautiful, gentle, easy way to start to understand vibration, which is how we have to begin, because that's all we really are, right? So in exploration of that, we're going to have amazing guided meditations together as we explore this book. We're going to take a month to go through it. Are we going to take a month to go through Neville?
I think we should take the full month. Yeah. I think we can break it down. Mm-hmm.
So we'll do the meditations. We'll have some hypnosis. I'm a hypnotherapist, so I can't not throw in some beautiful resources for our viewers or listeners to download these things so that they can start to shift it. It shouldn't be in the mind. We want to get in the body. We want to be embodied. And something someone said the other day was, the body, the soul, the body is like a banana peel that is only important in that it's covering the banana. So the skin is only important because it's covering what's inside. And so, but yet, if there is no peel, then the banana rots, right? It has no, it cannot thrive. So I think it's very important that we honor the banana peel as much as we honor the banana for the role that it's playing. And that requires that we are not at war with our banana peel. Sorry to push this, this metaphor so far.
I love it.
Banana. But no, I feel like that's, I had that my whole life. I was in my body, but I didn't want to be in my body. I was like, I need to escape this. I need to go astral. I got to go in the astral. I gotta, have these outer body experiences. I have to be one. I don't want to be on earth. I don't fit in here. I don't like it. And yet now I say to myself, but I am here. So there must be a reason. So why am I escaping this place that I've come? I need to step into myself, ground myself, then go up there, catch whatever magic is happening, and bring it back down here.
Right.
And I can't do it if I'm not in my body.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah.
So Neville is kind of the foundation.
Sorry.
We're going. No, that's okay. No, Neville kind of gets us kind of understanding the mechanics of how the life works. It's not just about the body, but of course the body is a big part of it. It is about bringing into alignment your magical mechanics of manifestation, the reality that everything that you're experiencing in your life right now is because it exists first on the domain of the subconscious, or we could simplify that to say it exists inside of you. And if you want what's showing up in your life to change, then you've got to make some fundamental shifts on the inside. And that is what Neville is going to teach us, right?
Absolutely. Love it.
What is the second book?
The second one is the Kybalion. Am I saying that right? The Kybalion?
I think so. Kybalion or Kybalion. I'm really not sure. The Kybalion Hermetic Philosophy. This is by the 3 initiates. I'm not sure who those initiates are. Wouldn't we like to know? But this book is really awesome because it teaches you the 7 Hermetic principles: mental transmutation, the all, the mental universe, the divine paradox, the all that's in the all, the planes of correspondence, vibration, again, we're going to get into, which you just mentioned, polarity and how that works within us, and also manifestation, rhythm, causation, gender, mental gender, and it's going to be intense, but really good. And I think this is also a pretty simple way to understand these fundamental universal principles. Because if we're working with the laws of mechanics within us, we also want to know the laws of mechanics within the universe. And so now we're fully equipped to do the damn thing. Okay, what's the next one?
The next one is Parallel Universes of Self.
Yeah, tell us about this one because I haven't read it.
Man, this book is amazing. And again, we're going again into vibration, but taking it further into, okay, how do I truly create, right? How do I truly create something and manifest into reality? Now that I understand vibration, now that I understand frequency, how do I actually do that? How do I actually change my frequency? Because so many books we read are about, okay, well, you have to have positive thoughts, or you need to do that or this. You can't, because you have to get rid of what is keeping you, the neural pathway, the way of being, the habits that you have that are locking you into a way of believing, acting, and feeling. And so this is kind of a manual for how do you transform all that. And on top of that, it's funny and amazingly written. So I can't wait to share that and read that. Yeah.
I think I interrupted you when you said the author's name. Could you repeat that?
Frederick Dodson.
Frederick Dodson, Parallel Universes.
Universes of Self. Parallel Universes of Self. And we're going to talk about basically saying you are anything you want to be. There's a complete universe, infinite versions of you. But every minute, the filter that you use to live your life through collapses onto your belief. Your belief drives what you're collapsing on, because we look to validate that which we believe. So if I believe it's going to be hot outside and whatever, I'm going to look for validation. I'm going to go out there and be like, I do. It feels sweaty. Yeah, it feels sticky. Yeah, the sun is high, right? You look for validation. So you cannot attract something opposite to your belief system. You cannot. So we need to figure out, so how do we lock into who we want to be? That version of us that already exists in parallel universes. And then be able to focus the attention so well as to bring that version into this timeline so we can step into who we want to be. Because at the end of the day, we can.
Are we talking about jumping timelines, or
Absolutely.
we're just bringing that?
Yeah.
We're bringing these parallel timelines into this one.
I think in a way it's both, isn't it? I mean, it is, because I'm changing direction right here. I'm shifting everything, but he doesn't. It's almost as if everything's existing at the same time. So in reality, there are no real timelines because time's an illusion, right? It's all just happening, but we're just picking which version of us we want to be. And he just talks very interesting things, how, you can only be a little bit better. You'll start to feel what you can actually manifest because it will feel believable to you. Whereas when you start to think of things that are like, oh, I'm going to be, the president of the universe. Okay, no, right?
You don't feel that's believable, right? You can't get into that.
It's beautiful. It's using your feelings to guide you into knowing what is next for you.
Right.
Yeah, it's really great book.
I'm excited
right?
about that. Okay, Parallel Universes of the Self by Frederick Dodson. And then we have what?
Did we decide on... did we do Path of Light yet, or what are we doing?
We have the 4 agreements and the Path of Light. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be the 4 agreements after Parallel Universes of Self.
Okay.
Which is another one. It's like very similar. I think there's only 4 key sections.
Yes.
You learn what these agreements are, and you discover how to apply them to yourself and to your life. And I read this book probably 20 years ago. I don't know when it was first released, within the year that it came out, and it absolutely blew my mind. The one that blew my mind the most, the agreement that blew my mind the most, was don't take anything personally. Because when you take something personally that someone else has said about you, that means you're believing the assertion on its face. And when you believe what somebody else says about you, you ingest it almost like it's a poison. And now it's part of who, it's no longer part of them. It's part of you and your own belief system. You've essentially agreed with it. And now it's changing who you are and how you see yourself in the world and how you see the world. When in reality, it's just something that somebody said about you. And it's whenever anybody says anything about you, it's more about them than it is about you. It's their perception of you. So it just blew my mind. This whole thing blew my mind, speaking impeccably, the whole thing. This book is just a wonderful book to read again and again. So that will be our fourth book by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
And then last but not least is Path of Light, which I have not read, by Robert Perry. And this deals with A Course in Miracles, right? Which out of the two of us, you're the master expert, guru.
Master, but I love it. I feel like it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. And The Course in Miracles, I mean, I've been studying that for many, many years. But Robert Perry really is, to me, the best teacher of A Course in Miracles. And what he's done in Path of Light is to really reduce all the most difficult concepts where people get tripped up or really don't know, like, what does it really mean? Or what does it really stand for? Or what really is forgiveness? Or what really is a miracle? And he explains it in such beautiful language, so simple to understand. And we'll do, again, some meditation around that when we do cover it. And just to allow us to feel that peace, you know, to feel what it is, because at the end of the day, you mentioned earlier love, and that when you're vibrating as love, from love, there's nothing missing, right? So the Course in Miracles basically says that a miracle is love, acts of love. So all of us are doing miracles all the time just by loving one another and being kind, from the smallest kindness to the biggest kindness. And one of the best kinds of expressions of love is forgiveness. Because when I forgive you, I let go of the story, the filter that I have around you, and the one you have around me. And now I can be with you who you really are, not the story I'm telling about the thing that you did. Because at the end of the day, there are just things that happened. And then there's the stories we tell about the things that happened. And those are colored. They're not absolute truth. So whatever is absolutely true, that is truth. Truth does not change. And so when we can forgive, it's basically just saying, I'm not going to hold you hostage anymore. Or life or situations. I'm not going to hold you hostage anymore to that. I'm going to forgive you. Because when I forgive you, I get myself back. I get my peace back.
Now, would you say this book in particular, The Path of Light by Robert Perry, is a good primer for folks who are interested in getting into A Course in Miracles? Like, is this a good starting point? Or is this a good book for those who are well-versed in A Course in Miracles, kind of just a different way to contextualize? What would you say about that?
I think Robert Perry's understanding of A Course in Miracles, his scholarship, and the depth to which he analyzes the different aspects of A Course in Miracles that, honestly, a lot of people that are quote-unquote teachers, and I'm sure we're all open to interpretation, but I think he does a methodically beautiful job of really justifying his perspectives based on the actual book. And I think that's critical, because people will just spin whatever they want out of anything, and you're allowed to. But I think that this book, because it's so meticulous and beautiful and so scholarly in its foundation, is beautiful for a beginner because it's very simple to grasp. But for a person that thinks they know the course and have been doing the course for so many years, they'll be shocked that some of the core ideas that they thought were true are not even in there. So I think that it would be beneficial for all.
Well, I'm excited because I have A Course in Miracles, and I just do the Bible bingo. Like, I'll open it up. I've never read it in a very organized, disciplined way, just more like, let's see if there's some inspiration for me today. So I'm very excited to learn more of these core teachings. And I know that we had talked preliminarily about just having our podcast be about the course and kind of moving through it in that organized way. And then me as the novice kind of coming with my questions about it, and you as the teacher fleshing that out for us. But we had further conversations, and we thought we could include stuff about the course in what we talked about, but we also wanted to look at these other great books, these other masters and teachers, just to kind of expand our content and our conversation. So if that's of interest to anybody, then you want to stay tuned. I do want to say that we would encourage anybody who would like to follow us and anybody who would like to listen and participate in these conversations to get these books if possible. I will make sure to list them in the description of this video or in the description of this podcast. If I'm super organized and professional, I might hyperlink them, but I probably won't. But I'll give you the names, I'll give you the authors so that you can go ahead and get these books yourself and then read along with us and just participate as we go. And again, the first book is Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. Second is The Kybalion by the Three Initiates. Parallel Universes of Self by Frederick Dodson. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And Path of Light by Robert Perry. That'll take us through at least the first 5 months, maybe a little longer, maybe a full half of the year, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun.
Whoever doesn't already own a copy of A Course in Miracles, the book, I highly recommend they get the one. There's two, because there's the FIP edition original, and then Robert Perry basically found a whole bunch of material that had not been included. It's beautiful. So I would recommend getting the one by Course Companions, by Robert Perry, or edited by Robert Perry. I would suggest to get that one. There's a blue one and a purple one. You have the one. You have the right one.
Okay, all right. Okay. I get confused. All right, so I have that one. I think you told me to get it and I got it. Okay, all right.
Yes, absolutely. So excited.
So we will start next week. We are going to start with the first chapter of Feeling is the Secret. I'm going to get nuts out here on the internet. I love this work by Neville. I love all of Neville's work, especially like the older he got, the more interesting he got with his ideas about Jesus and Christianity and the immortal man. But Feeling is a Secret is a great place to start with Neville and really kind of drill down into the fundamental concepts that he was sharing about manifestation and the divine self. So that'll be wonderful. Go ahead and get the book.
Yeah, get the book, everybody. And if you want, if you're into it, sometimes it's worth it just to get the Neville the Complete Reader, because it has all his books and it's just as big as one book. Because a lot of times it was just teachings, right? Like he would do presentation speeches, short things, and so definitely if you think you like it, or if you know him, or you want to go deep into the Neville, go ahead and get the big book. But Neville Goddard, you can never go wrong with Neville.
No, you cannot. Well, is there anything else? I made some notes about why we're doing this. Where are my notes?
I think I have mine here.
That's not it. Where did I put it? I put them. Am I going crazy? I swear. Oh, here they are.
Oh, okay. You're going to be all
making appointments and forgetting, like, oh, Lord, I need an assistant. I need an assistant for sure. I had an assistant. I don't have one anymore. I need to get one again. My first reason that I'm doing this podcast with you is because we vibe. Yes. Okay. Like we just do. You mentioned always kind of having that connection and wanting to do something with me. I have always felt that way about you too. I don't know if you remember when you first joined the Light Shine Lab, or it was back then it was the Lightworker Lab. Yeah. I remember you went up and you did something. Maybe it was a testimonial video that you did for me. I forget. But I remember both my husband and I just sitting there going, wow, there's something about this woman. And I remember always wanting to get you to broadcast in the space because I just thought you were so wonderful. I didn't really know what you would talk about. I just knew that we needed to get you up in front of people. So I just have always felt that intrinsically with you. My second reason is I like books and I like to talk about books. And I don't have friends who want to talk to me about books. My husband, as smart and big-brained as he is, he doesn't read the books that I read. I can't have a intelligent conversation about Neville Goddard with him. God bless him. God bless. The third reason is that people need these conversations, especially between normal people. Like you and I are normal people. We might be talking about really high concepts and getting really into these sophisticated areas of metaphysics and such, but we're normal people. We have cocktails. We say shit. This is who we are. And it's possible to be both, to be perfectly human in the experience, but also to grasp and to integrate all of these things. And the last thing said, we both have important life experiences that we can apply to all these works. And so I'm going to be willing, and I'm just going to tell you, Elenique, and everyone else, I'm going to be willing to bring my personal experiences to the conversations that we have, because I think it's important to be able to relate one with the other, me, you, us with them, if we can show how these concepts and truths have actually impacted us and changed us. You've been in the course for many, many years, and I know you've gone through so many things as you've learned and grown. So I want to be able to share that with people and talk about those things. And I'm going to be very open about it.
I agree completely. I think we're given these experiences as gifts. So there's gifts in everything that has happened to us. If we can ask the other side, I always think of it yin and yang. You know, even when something terrible is happening to you and it's all black, in the middle there's a little bit of white, right? In the yin and yang, and in the white there's a little bit of black. So in the darkness is a seed for the light, and in the light there's still a little seed of the darkness, because it's a world of duality, right? But everything that has happened to us can have a positive outcome, something beautiful that we can gain from it that we didn't have before. And I think it's important to share those stories because it gives people hope, and it shows them that they're not alone, and that you can bounce back no matter how difficult the things that you're going through are. You are an unlimited being. And if you can change your mind about how you see that thing, you can change your life.
Right, and learning how to detach from the story, as you say, because so many people are impacted by instances, moments, and experiences, and they never get out of them.
Absolutely.
The thing that happened to them, the abuse that they endured, the thing that person said to me when I was 25, they just live there for the rest of their lives. My dad was somebody who did that, just lived in his grudges, lived in his faulty beliefs, and he never challenged himself, and he stayed in that consciousness until the day that he died. And so if we can acknowledge what has happened, connect it to what's eternal about that, learn the lesson we came here to learn, and then detach and go on to the next thing, like that's how to live your life, I think.
Absolutely. And that's just really being in the present moment, right? I mean, the present moment is what's happening now. Yeah. And when we're not in the present moment, we're in the past, or maybe even in the future, because based on our past, we're projecting something terrible happening in the future that we're trying to guard against. But in both cases, nothing's ever happened. Nothing has ever happened to you in the past or the future. Everything's only happened now, here, now. There was never anything else. So you keep waiting for the future, but the future is now. This is it.
The all that is. And it's such a simple concept to be here now, but it's actually not that easy to do at all because it is so easy to get into the delusion and get into reaction and pretend that this is it. And pretend that the story that you're telling yourself is what life really is.
Exactly. And that's when we're disconnected. And when we're connected, we don't have that. When we're connected, you look outside and you look at a tree and you're with that tree. When you're with that sunset, you're with the sunset. When you're with your husband, you're with your husband, 100%. Right. And if we can just bring that to everything that we do, to our work, to our relationships, and to our time alone, because I think that's something people run from. I saw that very much in COVID. I mean, COVID was very difficult for many, many reasons. But for me, it wasn't that difficult in terms of being alone, because I actually have cultivated a great desire and love for being alone, you know. But I'm not alone. I'm with everyone when I'm by myself. It's when I'm most with everyone, you know. So it's just about that being present and connecting and allowing.
Well, I love it, and I think that's what we all need. And I think that's what we all want to. I think that so many of us have been living in reaction for the last couple of years. I mean, just from one thing to and then we're all wondering what's the next thing that's going to happen. Well, let's stop all that. Yeah. Let's stop the momentum of that, and let's just be in this present moment right now and acknowledge, become aware of our connection to the divine that exists inside of us, the divine that created us, which is always there, no matter what. We are not alone, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So, Elenique, my friend, I am so excited.
Me too.
I'm excited about what we're going to get into, and I can't wait to begin. So next week, we're going to try and release every Wednesday, in the middle of the night at some point. We're going to try and release and be consistent. And I'm going to turn this into a dedicated practice, like reading these books, filling my mind with these things, these beautiful, lovely things, and then coming here to have these conversations. And we are going to create some infrastructure, we should say, meaning a website where you can write us and send us emails, because we want them to participate. And I'm sure that people are going to have questions, especially the more we move into some sophisticated spiritual works. people are going to have questions. I would love for people to be able to write in, ask the questions, and have us answer them to the best of our ability right here in the podcast. But that'll probably come in the next month or two. But for now, we have a YouTube channel, so check out Miraculous Thinking on YouTube. We have this podcast, which we are going to be updating every single week. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how we grow.
We're going to go with spirit, where spirit leads.
Yeah.
And I think because it originated that way, it'll continue to flow in that way. And for everyone out there, we are just so excited that you're a part of this. It's not a coincidence that you are here with us. You are our tribe. We are your tribe. And so let's evolve together. Let's do this together.
Yes, taking the journey to miraculous thinking.
Love it.
I'm here for it. Me too.